Going beyond politics to find purpose and spiritual unity as a country means shifting focus from partisan divisions to shared, common goals and a deeper sense of connection as a people. It requires prioritizing moral and ethical principles over party loyalty, seeking truth over ideological narratives, and fostering compassion, understanding, and cooperation. This kind of unity doesn't mean everyone agrees on policies or beliefs, but it does mean recognizing a higher purpose, whether that's faith, justice, service, or the well-being of future generations. It means engaging in discussions with humility rather than hostility, finding common ground in core human values, and working together toward a society where dignity, respect, and purpose transcend political conflict. Historically, nations have achieved this in times of crisis or great vision, through movements centered on justice, faith, and shared responsibility. The challenge today is to cultivate that same spirit intentionally, even in the absence of a unifying crisis. The tragedy of 9/11 temporarily pushed the country beyond politics by uniting Americans around a shared sense of grief, resilience, and purpose. In the immediate aftermath, political divisions took a back seat to collective mourning and a renewed appreciation for what binds us together, our humanity, our freedoms, and our responsibilities to each other. For a time, people focused less on party lines and more on service, faith, and community. Churches, synagogues, mosques, and other places of worship saw increased attendance as people sought comfort and meaning. Volunteerism surged, and a deep respect for first responders, military personnel, and everyday heroes emerged. The American flag became a symbol of solidarity rather than division. This unity was not based on uniform agreement about policy, but on a recognition of shared values and love of country, the sanctity of life, and the need to stand together in the face of adversity. It revealed that when people look beyond their differences and toward a greater purpose, they can find a deeper spiritual and moral connection. The challenge, of course, was sustaining that unity. Over time, political divisions re-emerged, and the sense of togetherness faded. However, 9/11 remains a reminder that in moments of crisis, Americans can set aside differences and rally around a common cause. The question is, can we cultivate that same spirit of unity without the need for tragedy? A country can go beyond politics to find purpose and spiritual unity in everyday life by intentionally fostering shared values, service, and meaningful connections rather than waiting for a crisis to force us together. Here's how. 1. Shift focus to common values. Instead of defining ourselves by political divisions, we can emphasize the values that most people agree on: integrity, kindness, justice, personal responsibility, and service to others. These values transcend politics and create a foundation for unity. 2. Engage in service and community building. Acts of service, whether through volunteering, mentoring, or simply helping a neighbor, help build bonds that rise above political differences. When people work together toward a common goal, they experience a shared purpose that fosters unity. 3. Prioritize faith and spiritual reflection. For those who are religious, faith can be a grounding force that reminds us of our higher purpose beyond political affiliations. For those who are not, spiritual reflection through gratitude or acts of compassion can cultivate the same sense of deeper connection. 4. Seek understanding instead of division. Instead of engaging in political battles, we can choose to listen with an open heart. Having real conversations, not debates, helps us recognize the humanity in others, even when we disagree. 5. Lead by example in daily interactions. Treating people with respect, avoiding unnecessary political arguments, and focusing on kindness in daily interactions can create a ripple effect. Unity starts with individuals who choose to live differently. 6. Celebrate what unites us. Patriotism doesn't have to be partisan. Honoring national symbols, celebrating shared cultural traditions, and telling stories of American resilience can remind us of what we have in common. 7. Encourage moral and ethical leadership. Leaders, whether in government, business, or communities, play a role in shaping the national tone. Supporting those who emphasize unity, wisdom, and ethical leadership can help shift the culture away from division. The key is not to wait for a crisis to bring us together, but to actively cultivate a culture of purpose, service, and understanding in everyday life. If enough individuals commit to this way of living, it can reshape the national mindset over time. Understanding God's design laws versus man's imposed laws can help us go beyond politics and find spiritual unity by shifting our focus from external control and division to internal transformation and shared purpose. God's design laws versus man's imposed laws. God's design laws are the inherent principles by which life and the universe operate, laws of love, truth, freedom, and cause and effect. Man's imposed laws are rules created by governments and societies, often based on coercion and punishment. While they may serve order and justice, they are often subject to corruption, control, and division. Politics tends to focus on these laws, using power to enforce compliance rather than transformation. How this understanding helps us go beyond politics. Shifting from external control to internal transformation. God's laws focus on changing the heart and mind rather than forcing behavior. When people follow God's design, love, truth, and grace, unity happens naturally. Politics, on the other hand, often enforces change through external force, creating resentment and division. Emphasizing love over power. Jesus didn't try to overthrow the Roman government. He changed lives by teaching love, mercy, and forgiveness. When we follow this example, we move away from political hostility and toward unity through shared spiritual purpose. Encouraging freedom instead of control. God's law of liberty means that true faith and unity cannot be forced. When people try to impose religious or political beliefs through the law, it leads to conflict. True unity comes from allowing people to choose righteousness freely. Finding common ground in higher truth. Politics divide because it focuses on temporary human systems. But spiritual unity comes when people align with eternal principles, truth, justice, mercy, and love, which transcend political parties and governments. When we understand and live by God's design laws, we no longer rely on politics to define our purpose. Instead, we cultivate love, service, and integrity in daily life, leading to true spiritual unity beyond political divisions. The antithesis of finding purpose through spiritual unity is division through self-centeredness and materialism. Instead of being guided by love, truth, and shared purpose, people become driven by ego, power, control, and fear, leading to conflict and separation. Key opposites of spiritual unity and purpose. Selfishness over service. Instead of seeking a higher purpose, people prioritize personal gain, status, and power. This leads to exploitation rather than cooperation. Control and coercion over freedom and love. Where spiritual unity is based on free will and love, its opposite is force and manipulation, whether through political power, societal pressure, or fear-based religion. Division over connection. Instead of recognizing common human and spiritual values, people focus on differences in race, politics, wealth, or ideology, leading to hostility and tribalism. Materialism over meaning. If purpose is sought only in wealth, possessions, or temporary success, people lose sight of deeper spiritual truths and the eternal values that bind humanity together. Lies and deception over truth and wisdom. Unity is built on truth. Its opposite thrives in misinformation, propaganda, and deceit, creating confusion, mistrust, and conflict. Fear and hate over faith and love. Spiritual unity is grounded in faith, hope, and love, while its opposite uses fear, resentment, and suspicion to divide people. What this leads to? A culture of polarization and hostility, where people see each other as enemies rather than fellow humans. A society where laws replace morality, forcing compliance rather than fostering virtue. An endless cycle of conflict and dissatisfaction because external achievements and political victories never provide true meaning. The only way to break out of the cycle is to choose love over fear, truth over deception, and service over selfish ambition, living by God's design rather than man's imposed struggles for power. We hope you will join us beginning April 4th, 2025, for Beyond Politics, Rediscovering Purpose Through Spiritual Unity. We are excited to publish content that offers a way to break out of the division cycle by choosing love over fear, truth over deception, and service over selfish ambition, living by God's design rather than man's imposed struggles for power. See you next time on Beyond Politics, rediscovering purpose through spiritual unity.